Welcome, everyone, to People on Dating. I'm your host, Will Morales. And for those of you who are tuning in for the first time, this podcast is about the ups and downs of dating and how to navigate through it. Today, my guest is Jo Hayes. She's the founder of etiquetteexpert.org. Love that name. Jo is an international consultant and media contributor of all things etiquette, manners, and speech. Jo holds a bachelor's degree in speech language pathology and a master's degree in journalism and creative industry. Her research thesis focus on afternoon tea etiquette, the first and only piece of academic research on this topic in the world. Jo, thank you so much for being on People on Dating. How are you?
Thank you so much, Will. I am supremely well, and I'm delighted to join you on your podcast.
Well, listen, it's my pleasure. Like I said before, I think this is the first time I ever had anyone on the show about etiquette. So this is brand new for me too. So Jo, tell me a little bit about yourself. What was your journey like to become an expert in etiquette? What was it in the market that you saw that Jo Hayes needed to be in there?
Well, a fantastic question, Will. And I'm asked this a lot because people, I think, are quite curious, quite perplexed, perhaps, about how one becomes an etiquette expert. Well, it's been a very interesting journey. My previous career for a number of years, over a decade, was actually as a television news reporter. So I did a master's degree in journalism after my bachelor's that you've listed as a speech language pathologist, and absolutely loved working as a broadcast journalist. And then, there was a sort of a sense that other things were opening up to me. And so I just followed the light. And yes, through a series of events and over a number of years, this etiquette expert business was birthed. And I realized that there was an enormous hunger in the world for what I know and can offer from my master's research thesis in etiquette and just my own personal interest and my own personal training and formation in this area. And I love that the world is hungry for this, and it's a delight to bring what I know to the table.
Yeah, like I said, this is the first time I can remember ever having anyone talk about etiquette. So for those in my audience that might not know what etiquette is, if you could explain what details or what entails etiquette, if that word even exists.
Etiquette. Let's make it up. It's a brand new word. Etiquette. Well, etiquette and good manners are basically the right way to do things in a particular situation. So, good manners basically is doing good to the other person. So, the overarching rule or mantra that I often present to people is the golden rule: do unto others as you would have them do unto you. If we keep this top of mind, whatever situation we are in, we will be on the right path. Now, etiquette is sort of a tangent of good manners. Etiquette is the right or the socially acceptable way to do things in a particular situation, but this can differ from country to country, culture to culture, whereas good manners generally is a universal thing. Doing the right thing by another person is universal in Australia as it is in the USA, as it is in Taiwan.
Right.
But etiquette, so say dining etiquette, differs in different countries. What is acceptable and considered appropriate here or in the US is different to, say, China or perhaps another Asian country. So that's sort of a very basic breakdown of the terms.
Yeah, because I the way you explain about manners, yes, definitely, I agree. Talking to someone professionally, whether it's on a date or your boss or your manager, and then there's etiquette. Now, when we go to dinner, we have a dinner date, right? I'm going to take out a young lady to dinner. Obviously, we both have manners, but now we're going to a dinner setting. How does etiquette come into play there? If my question made any sense at all, because that's always the biggest thing, right? Either at a networking event or at a dinner. Let's do a dinner date first. So how would manners and etiquette come into play?
Well, there are so many things in this dating realm. Honestly, we could do multiple episodes on the etiquette of matters of dating. But yes, to sort of bring down the main points or the most important things to remember, really there is a rather large onus on the man in terms of dating to do the right thing. Chivalry is back. In fact, chivalry has never gone away. The man being the gentleman, the one sort of making sure the lady is well taken care of, all of that is still as important today as it was, say, back in the main era of chivalry, when perhaps that word chivalry was first invented. So, yes, being the gentleman, opening doors, pulling the chair out, allowing the lady to sit down. When, in fact, just a couple of days ago, I received a question on social media about what direction the man should sit, or the man and the woman should sit in the restaurant. What is the appropriate way on a date? And historically, the man would sit facing the entrance to the restaurant in order to ward off any potential dangers to the lady or himself. That's perhaps not as upheld quite so much now. Generally, now the lady would be offered the best seat. So if you're approaching the table, and that might be, the maitre d' or the waiter, but generally offer the lady, where would you like to sit? Would you like to sit facing the restaurant or with your back to the
Mm.
restaurant? So they're just a few things. I would encourage people to really hone up on their table manners in terms of knowing how to hold the knife and fork correctly, knowing how to use one's napkin or serviette correctly, uh, remembering to keep your elbows off the table. All of those things are such important things, and in fact major deal breakers for many people. If you are on a date with someone who is sort of eating rather slovenly, it's rather off-putting. Even if your personality is shining, someone who is rather impolite in the way they eat, it's something of a turn off.
Right. I definitely agree. I want to go back to chivalry. Now, here in the States, again, depending on your sources, like for me, if I see other podcasts or other clips or I read articles, they say that here in the United States that chivalry is dead and some women killed it because of feminism and things like that. I don't want to delve deep into that, but I'm one of those guys, but I'm old school. I'm a 60-some-year-old man, so I still believe whether you're my friend or someone I'm interested, I'm going to open the door for you. Now, I'm hearing also that women are complaining that men are not opening doors, that men are letting the women open the doors because of women saying, "Oh, I could do that myself." So how does that come into play where a man wants to shine to show that he's a gentleman, that chivalry is not dead? Let me show you, let me open the door for you, let me get that car door for you, let me, oh, you're cold, let me give you my jacket. If I'm getting mixed signals on the internet that women are complaining that men are not chivalry anymore, men are complaining that women don't let us be chivalrous. How do we get back to to being chivalrous again? If my question made sense. Sorry, I went on a rant there.
I hear what you're saying, Will, and if I may state this definitively from the perspective of an etiquette expert, chivalry, men, go for it. Open the doors. Let me get that for you. Are you cold? Let me offer you my jacket. All of those things are fantastic. And it is rather disappointing that in some parts of society, this has diminished or been criticized because it's such a beautiful aspect of male female interactions, and especially in the dating scene. But as you've suggested, even in friendship circles as well, it's a beautiful thing for a man to offer a lady his jacket or open the door. I love that. Whether it's my father, my brother, a male friend, or a suitor, I absolutely delight in feeling like I feel respected. I feel like they are taking care of me. And that's a lovely feeling for a woman. So I would encourage men, ignore the critics, ignore the people who have tried to diminish the, dare I say, male role in society. And yes, go for it. And for those people who don't like it, well, that's their prerogative. But yes, I would posit, and I'm fairly confident in saying that the vast majority of women love it. So don't hesitate.
I love that. Don't, guys, you heard what she said. Do not hesitate. Still show your chivalrous side. I loved it. And Joe, I was this is like maybe a year ago, maybe longer. A coworker of mine, and she's a few years younger than me, maybe 10, 15 years younger, give or take. I opened the door for her to the entrance of our job. And she goes, "Oh wow, I'm not used to that." And I'm like, what? In my mind, I'm like, wow, you're in your 40s, maybe early 50s, and you're not used to that. So I said, well, I do that all the time. Whether you're a friend or someone I'm courting, I'm going to always open the door. That's just how I was raised, and that's what I watched around me. Um, like you said, let the guys do what they do, but if they get resistance from a woman, what should we do?
Hmm. It's a difficult one, and I do think it's a nuanced thing, and you really have to gauge it in the situation. But
Yeah.
I would encourage men that when they're approaching the door, so say they're with a work colleague and they're coming to a door, take the initiative and go and open the door for them. And if they do present some resistance, well, so be it. Just sort of navigate it as politely as you can. Say, "Oh, I apologize. That's just the way that I like to do things."
Hmm.
But again, I would say that the vast majority of women love it. And even if they're not used to it, they will realize, oh, this actually feels lovely to have this man go in and open the door for me. So I would encourage men to just take the initiative. And for women who would like to see more of this, encourage the man, not necessarily in words, although that may be appropriate, but when you're coming to say a door, I sort of hold back a bit, just not too much, but just sort of hold back enough to allow the man to be chivalrous.
I love that. I love that. So now let's say we got a date, we're going out, and like you said, usually the man will sit facing the door, but if the woman switches roles, that's okay. But now how do we navigate the forks, the spoons, the ice cream fork? Talk more about that, because that I always get confused with that. I'm like, okay, when am I supposed to use this and that? And I gotta confess, sometimes I put my elbows on the table. So you got a confession out of me, Joe.
It feels good to confess one's sins, doesn't it, Will? I'm joking.
I know, I
A lot
know.
of people do make that, dare I say, mistake. But yes, it's one of the many things that sort of make up dining etiquette. The general rule that I think many people have heard, but it is a standard rule: start from the outside and work your way in. The cutlery is designed to, if you're at a particularly fancy restaurant, there'll be multiple sets. So start from the outside for the first course or the entree and work your way in. I should say entree is a different word in Australia than it is in the USA. There's lots of different, language differences even in English countries. But yes, I in Australia operate on the continental method of using cutlery, whereas I know in the USA there is a different style. We call it the US style,
Right.
where I'm not sure if you want to go into this much detail, but the continental method is you have the fork in your left hand, the knife in your right hand, and
Okay.
you stay in that position for the entire meal. Even if you were
Mhm.
whatever, if you were left or right-handed, it doesn't matter.
Okay.
So you cut the food rather with the knife, you spear it with the fork, a small to medium sized portion. We don't want to be, like cavemen here. This is civilized society. And you bring the fork to your mouth with the tines of the fork facing down,
Hmm.
cutlery back on the plate, and eat that mouthful. Whereas I know in the USA, it's considered appropriate and polite to cut with the knife, spear with the fork, but then cross over and put the fork in your right hand and then bring it to your mouth.
Yeah.
So that doesn't happen in Australia or the UK, but it's considered polite in the USA, so that's fine. So whatever is the accepted etiquette in your country, do that. But know what that etiquette is and comply.
Got it. Okay. Now the date is finished. Now we're going outside. now, is it etiquette or manners for the man to be on the outside and the woman to be on the inside, right? You got cars coming. It's always been said that the man should always be on the outside and the woman on the inside. Is that more etiquette or is that more manners?
I would say that's both. And I'm so glad you brought this up, Will. This is a
Okay.
fantastic point. And any boy, any male of any age, learn this lesson. Yes. So whether it's a date or even a, colleague relationship, you're walking together on the street, absolutely. The man always on the curb side, the street side,
Mhm.
to again protect the lady should there be a rogue car or scooter. He'll be the one that's, dare I say, hit first. We don't want that to happen.
I get it. I get it. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Um, so we do that now. How about we go to a theater? I got uh near the aisle seats. Manners or etiquette if a man sits on the aisle or he sits on the next seat and let the woman get the aisle. Unfortunately, I always try to get the edge seat. That's just me. So please, if I did a mistake, please let me know.
Well, look, again, this really comes down to personal preference. If the lady would prefer the aisle seat, that's fine. But generally, the rule is when you're coming to a seat, so whether it be in a theatre or a church, I'm semi-regularly asked about church etiquette as well.
Okay.
Generally, you would be approaching it the row together, and the man would let the lady go in first. So letting the lady go into the row first, and then you sit on the outside seat. So always sort of offering the lady to go ahead of you is the general rule.
Okay. All right. So, because usually, Joe, and we're talking with Joe Hayes, today's topic is about etiquette and dating, manners, all that good stuff. Because, like I said, for me, I always like to sit on the outside. One is I feel comfortable. Also, two, I do have a bad right knee, so I always try to keep it, stretched out a little bit on occasion. So that's my excuse, Joe. I don't know if you'll believe me, but I am telling the truth.
I believe you. And look, that aligns with the rule that I've just said. You let the lady go in first, you sit on the aisle,
Yeah.
all good.
Now we go to a networking event. Now networking, you're trying to. For me, it'll be business networking. I love doing that. I bring someone along. What's the manners and etiquette in a group setting where you meeting strangers?
Okay, again, this is a whole, dare I say, minefield. There's many topics one could cover here. One of
Okay.
the big ones that I would firstly mention is shaking hands. Shaking hands is a commonly accepted practice of good manners for a number of reasons. There are so many psychological things that delve into this, but personal touch is really powerful. So, shaking hands with a confident handshake, a strong, not too firm, you're not going to be crushing the other person's hand, but a firm handshake, no dead fish here, please.
I've gotten that
So,
before. Yeah, from a man
yes,
and a woman. I guess a woman's okay, but I even got that from men. The dead hand. I'm like, oh, geez, what's going on here? So yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry. I had to just
a
throw that
firm
in there.
handshake.
Yeah.
Yes, it sets a really good tone. It is affable, and that, again, personal contact is really powerful. Then introducing yourself. So, having the confidence, knowing how to introduce yourself. Hello, my name's Joe Hayes. Offering your hand as you say that, and then the other person would, as they accept your handshake, oh, hello, lovely to meet you. My name's Will.
Okay.
So, offering your name, and then once the other person has said their name, lovely to meet you, Will. So, using the other person's name is an underrated, largely unknown, hugely powerful communication tool, whether this is a networking event or any social event, any human interaction. Using the other person's name is so powerful because the human person loves to hear their own name. It makes us feel seen, known,
Yes.
acknowledged. We know it when we get a text message or an email, when it just says hi, it's so much less personal than hi, Joe, or thanks, Joe, so much. we love hearing our own name. So when you're at a
Yeah.
networking event, hugely powerful, the other person feels, oh, great, this person has heard my name. They're acknowledging, I feel seen and known by this person. The other sort of flip side to that is when you mention the other person's name multiple times in a conversation, it sticks in your head. So it's a great way to remember the other person's name.
I got to touch base on that because my God, sometimes I had such a bad habit. I meet someone, hey, nice to meet you. What's your name? Joe? Okay, great. And then I don't repeat the name. And I'm like, 5 seconds later, I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe I forgot the person's name. What's the person's name? So I love that. Repeat it again. Thank you. And then in a conversation, well, Joe, what I like to do is go, yes, because I agree. I love hearing my name, Will or William, whatever it is. I do like hearing my name. So that's one of the ways to remember is by repeating it often in a sentence. Now, one question I wanted to ask you, Joe, is a person that doesn't have the etiquette skills or the manners, they want to learn, they might be a little older. How do you work with someone like that that's, let's say, rough around the edges?
Right. Well,
I didn't
where
mean
does
to put
one
you on the spot.
start? Well, I think just starting with the basics. We don't necessarily want to change a person entirely. Some
Okay.
people, the way they are in terms of being rough around the edges, say we're talking about a mechanic. I'm not saying mechanics are the roughest of the rough, but they're different to say a solicitor in court.
Right,
They're
right.
a different sort of type. I would encourage people to just come back to the basic rule of good manners, the golden
Mhm.
rule: do unto others as you would have them do unto you.
Yeah.
A person doesn't need to be necessarily especially polished to have good manners. Knowing that courtesy, consideration, and respect for the other person is the height of good manners, that's where we start. So a mechanic who, might be, a bit rough, dare we say, if they are showing consideration and respect for the other person, being punctual, hello Joe, lovely to meet you, all of those things trump any other sort of charm. So yes, just that's sort of the first thing that's come to my mind when we're trying to start with the basics. Just remembering the golden rule: do unto others as you would have them do unto you.
Okay, so we that which makes sense. I love that. Now, on a potential date, right? I ask a girl out, but she, again, for me, she's a little rough around the edges. She, sometimes curses like a sailor, but she's still feminine. She still looks good. She still has great qualities. But she grew up around that environment. If my question makes sense, how do I navigate that as a man trying to, like, okay, I want to smooth the edges a little bit, not like you said, not change her 100%, but just smooth around the edges, if again my question made any
Mm.
sense.
Yes. Well, look, I think that is difficult until you have established a relationship with this person.
Okay.
So I would firstly encourage people, avoid using curse words. That's not a polite thing to do in civilized society. But yes, if you are dating someone who, yes, you've gone on this date and then, oh, okay, as you've said, they're cursing like a sailor. I think that's a difficult thing to address in the first or second or third date. I think
Okay.
if you really like this person and you're willing to sort of overlook the cursing, and you establish a romantic relationship with this person, you become a couple. Once that's established, then you can perhaps tread into the territory of, oh, you're such a lovely person, but the cursing, it really is, it doesn't become you. So you really have to
Mm.
build up the relational capital before you have the ability or the right to
Uh,
speak into sort of a sensitive topic like that.
Okay, no,
So
that's a good point. Okay.
yes, avoid any sort of addressing of that definitely on the first date.
Right. At least wait a while to see. Okay. No, definitely makes sense. Well, first of all, Joe, I want to thank you so much for being on People on Dating. I could probably talk to you for another hour. And before I let you go, anything you want to else talk about? Any you want to touch base on anything? Any books that you might have or will write? Because you have at least 5 or 6 books in you, or you know that already.
Well, thank you so much. Well, that's such a lovely compliment. I have one very mini digital book that I published last year, Etiquette Experts 12 Rules for Life. It's available on Amazon. It's a very easy read. It's just a very basic introduction to etiquette and manners. So if you're interested, you can have a look at that. But other than that, I work largely as a media commentator. So
Okay.
journalists approach me for comment on stories. And so if you are interested on any number of different etiquette topics, my advice, you can go to my website, etiquetteexpert.org/media, and there is a plethora of media articles about a whole range of topics, wedding etiquette to dating etiquette to how to navigate Christmas holidays with the family. All of those things are covered. So
Yeah,
help
no, I'll
yourself to
definitely.
that info.
Yeah, I'll definitely put that on the show notes. Well, first of all, again, Joe, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to be on People on Dating. I really, really appreciate it.
My absolute pleasure, Will. Thank you.
Yep, my pleasure. Bye bye.